All right, well, hello, and I want to thank everyone for joining today's presentation, Introducing Innovations in Identity Data Management for Equity, Efficiency, and Empowerment. My name is Jesse Eichhorn. I'm the Director of Product Marketing for Identity here at Rhapsody, and we're excited you could join us. Before we introduce today's speakers, just a couple of notes for everyone out there. We'll be recording today's session, and we'll be sending a link to the recording to everybody within the next 24 hours. If you do have a question during today's session, please go ahead and enter it in the chat. We'll do our best to tackle those questions at the end of the presentation. So with that, let's get started. I'm delighted to introduce to you my colleagues, starting with Lynn Stoltz. Lynn is Rhapsody's Senior Product Manager for Identity. She's serving as the quarterback for all updates and innovations across our identity product line here at Rhapsody. Prior to joining Rhapsody, she was a product manager at Cerner, so she has extensive experience in developing healthcare solutions. And also delighted to introduce you to my colleague, Tom Myers. Tom comes to Rhapsody, from the advanced imaging radiology space, and has a passion for solving sticky problems in healthcare integration. He heads up our global solution consulting team and is surrounded by Rhapsody rock stars on a daily basis. And I can attest to that. So with our introductions ahead of us, let's go ahead and jump into the presentation. So I'm going to start us off and talk a little bit about the state of patient matching to provide a little bit of context for the content and the innovations that you're going to see today presented by my colleagues. I think it's important to sort of set the stage for what we're going to be presenting later. And I'm presenting these in 3 buckets, and you'll see how that corresponds to the rest of the presentation in just a few moments. But let's start with this first bucket. Identity data management remains a challenge. There's a really compelling study done by the Patient ID Now Coalition in conjunction with HIMSS that surveyed a number of respondents across segments throughout the healthcare space to sort of gauge the scope of the challenge that identity data management poses. A couple really compelling statistics that came from that study are presented here. Organizations spend 109 hours per week resolving patient identity issues. That's on average across all the respondents. And then over a third of organizations are spending 1 million or more on patient resolution annually. So you can see that this problem persists within the industry. It remains a challenge, and here at Rhapsody, we're eager and always working to find solutions to help reduce that burden. The second kind I'd like to walk through is health equity. So greater health equity continues to evolve in the industry. Really interesting stats found in a survey done by Ernst & Young. So 80% of organizations have a health equity data and analytics strategy in place. And 89% have defined KPIs to track progress towards health equity goals. So that suggests that the overwhelming majority of you out there, have a strategy or have goals or have, initiatives in place with regard to health equity. However, only 47% of organizations said they had reliable health equity data reporting and insights, or had taken steps to organize data to make the business case for health equity. So that's a huge delta between this 89, 85% and the just shy of 50% who actually have the data in a state where these goals can be met with confidence. So huge data gap as it relates to the pursuit of greater health equity. And then the third bucket I'd like to touch on here: direct engagement with the patient is increasing. I'm sure this comes as no surprise to the folks out there listening. Some numbers to sort of paint the picture here. 92% of US residents say quick and easy access to their medical records is important. However, 45% have trouble accessing their medical records. And 77% of healthcare executives are investing in enhanced portals and apps. So the appetite is there from patients, and the investment is following suit. And I think organizations across the space recognize this, long evolving trend of more investment by the patients in terms of engaging with and accessing their information. This last step is a nice complement to that. 50% of consumers report that one bad digital experience with a healthcare provider ruins that entire experience. So in an age where there are a lot of options for patients, and the patients are being more and more engaged, with their data and their, presence on various digital apps, with various providers, et cetera, it's critical that, this data is accurate and sort of gives the patient a sense of confidence when that patient's interacting with it. So that's sort of a nice state of patient engagement as it relates to their data in the industry today. So there you have it. The persistent challenge of data management, identity data management, the pursuit of greater health equity and patient engagement with their own data. Three issues that we would now like to talk about in terms of what we have done here at Rhapsody to enhance our identity data management solutions to address some of these themes. So you can go ahead and advance to the next slide here. And you'll see here that the themes that we're talking about are very much aligned with the backdrop I just provided, those being equity, efficiency, and empowerment. So at this point, I'd like to go ahead and pass it off to my colleague Lynn, who's going to go into a little bit more detail in these three buckets.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jesse. So like he mentioned, we are so excited and proud to announce the release of Rhapsody EMPI version 11.3, really focusing in on these three areas of equity, efficiency, and empowerment. Let's go ahead and dig into the area of equity. So like Jesse just laid us a backdrop with some of those metrics, equity is extremely important. I recently read a paper last week that social determinants of health data affect 80% of a person's health. So this is increasingly important, and we're gathering more and more data about how important it is. There are a lot of health equity initiatives that are moving forward or that need to be moved forward, but like Jesse said, that the data to drive those initiatives is either not there, not sure how to gather it, or it's not connected to the person and the patient that you're trying to serve. And so we want to be able to help you with that as our EMPI drives deduplication and creating the best record for the person, the patient you're trying to serve. We also want to facilitate the connecting of and the gathering of this equity data to help drive your health equity initiatives as you move forward. So with that, we are adding this enhancement to 11.3 to include some census fields that are associated with addresses. And these census fields can act as keys that allow you to connect to and access tables of data from the census and the CDC. And a lot of this data includes social determinants of health data. The idea of connecting to this social determinants of health data is that the location where a person lives and the conditions around them can influence their health outcomes. So we're adding these fields to ease the gathering of this data and begin taking advantage of this information. We already have customers that are beginning to use this information. They are using it to prioritize their patients based on their health equity data and the social determinants of health data, and really be able to ask the right questions, meet those patients where they are, meet their needs, and connect them with community resources to make sure that they are providing the best care possible and driving forward these health equity initiatives at their organization. So this is really just the first step that we're taking towards to be able to help you gather this data and drive forward your initiatives. We are going to be continuing to take steps towards health equity and how we can help facilitate gathering, provide information, and connect this information to your patients as we move forward. So this is what we're doing in 11.3. And then as we take another step forward in our next release, 11.4, here's just a sneak peek, a preview of what we are doing in the area of health equity for that release. So in 11.4, we are not only providing you these keys to these tables, we are also going to be gathering some of this information for you and allowing you to access that information via APIs, be able to share that information and propagate it across your organization via downstream notifications, as well as display some of this information for each person via the social determinants of health dashboard. So what this dashboard is showing is really the risk level and the vulnerability score for a person based on their social determinants of health data. So this top vulnerability score is really a summary of the risk level of that patient and the risk level they have based on their social determinants of health factors. So the higher that is, the more orange or red that is, the greater risk that person may have that their social determinants of health is negatively affecting their health. So we hope this gives you a way that you can, like our other customers, prioritize your patients in the right way, meet them where they are, and ask the right questions to provide the best care possible. All right, so now that we've talked about equity, we're going to move ahead to the idea of efficiency. So efficiency really has three different areas where we are wanting to focus in 11.3 and beyond as we move forward. First is efficiency using our front-end tools day-to-day. So our data stewards or end users need to be as efficient as possible in resolving those issues, those tasks that they are working in our user experience interface. And we want to make sure that we are hearing feedback, we are optimizing those workflows, and we are always adding improvements and enhancements to continue to drive efficiencies in their workflows every single day. The second area of efficiency that we are always going to be focusing on and iterating on as we move forward is adding efficiency to how the EMPI is working in the background. The EMPI as an engine is always working to deduplicate your patients, to increase resolution of your patients, and we want to make sure that we are optimizing the EMPI, its matching, and how it's working, its performance, to always be working as well as it can in the background, whether that's on holidays, weekends, evenings, 24/7, 365. We want to make sure that it's always optimal for your organization. And then finally, as we move forward, we want to add the ability to easily visualize those efficiencies and the value that the EMPI is providing to your organization every single day. So first few features that we're going to dig into that are related to efficiency for our end users are reason codes and tags. So we have heard from connecting with our customers, from hearing feedback, that our end users need better prioritization and additional data to support decision-making within our EMPI product. And so to support these needs, we have added reason codes and tags. Reason codes give additional visibility and history as to why decisions were made and the actions that were taken. So these reason codes can be associated and added when it comes to a state change of an issue or a duplicate that's being worked and the assignment of that duplicate that's being worked. Tags are additional unique attributes that can be added to issues. So we can add these tags to allow for more precise classification, and we can filter on them in a really granular way to make sure that the data steward is working on the right types of issues, the right classification of issues, etc. We've heard from our customers that these tags may be used to identify more granular facilities across their organization to ensure their data stewards are working issues from the correct facility. We've also heard that these tags can be used to assign priority, criticality, and just really allow a data steward to know what issues they should be working first and primarily each day. So if they've added tags that show high, medium, low priority or a critical indicator, then they'll know they need to be working those critical and high issues first and really optimize their time and make sure they're using the best, most efficient workflows, driving the most value with their time. Another feature that we are introducing in the area of efficiency and accuracy is the single best record override feature. The idea of the single best record override feature is amplifying and improving upon our automated and optimized survivorship calculation. So we have this automated calculation that provides the output of our single best record, and that's propagated across your organization. But we want to make sure that it is as optimal and accurate as possible. And so we're giving some control back to you to make sure that you have that fine-grained control to select the most accurate details for that single best record. And then those most accurate details can be sent via those outbound notifications to keep all systems up to date in real time and make sure that your whole organization has the most accurate, up-to-date information. All right, and then that last area of efficiency that I mentioned is visualizing the current state of data across your organization, visualizing the current state of the EMPI, and then visualizing the value that the EMPI is providing to your organization every single day. And that's really what this new homepage dashboard is doing. So this is, again, giving you just a sneak peek into the future, into our next release 11.4. We will be providing this dashboard and really just helping you get a quick look, a high-level overview of the state of your organization's data and how the EMPI is providing value to you every single day. All right, so we've walked through equity and efficiency, and now we are going to focus in on empowerment. So the idea of empowerment is really getting the patient involved in the process. We have heard, across recent years that the idea of the patient's data belongs to the patient. They should have access to that information. That idea is really increasing and is propagating across healthcare. So we believe that, but we believe that doesn't only apply to clinical information, but that it also applies to their demographic information, and that the patient can be a really great source of truth when it comes to identity data and deduplicating patient records, ensuring we're talking about and sharing data about the right person. So with that, I'm going to set the stage for this idea of empowerment and giving the patient that power to provide information and increase the resolution and deduplication of our EMPI. So in this graphic, you'll see the initial long arrow and then a shorter arrow on the right. The initial long part of the arrow is illustrating the mature, proven matching technology that we have in place, that we're always improving, always optimizing, that addresses nearly all of our patient data discrepancies. But we know there are always going to be just a few that remain. So for those few remaining records, we offer additional resolution methods and processes that we can layer on top of our EMPI to continue to optimize and improve deduplication across the organization. The first of these resolution methods is referential resolution. We can use referential data to fill in gaps of records and to increasingly deduplicate them. The second way we can increase resolution, the second resolution method that we now offer, is verify. Verify is knowledge-based verification. And the idea of this is asking the patient directly to confirm information about their identity, to resolve record issues, and make sure we have confidence in the resolution of that. We're not using out-of-date data. We're going straight to the patient and the source of truth and having them confirm that information for us. So the idea behind all of this is really, who knows the patient better than themselves? We truly believe this, and we believe that this could be really groundbreaking in the identity management space to ensure that we're not only using referential information, we're not only using information that may be out of date, but we're going straight to the patient themselves, giving them the power to provide us back some of that info and ensure that we're using it to the best advantage that we can. So here's just a sort of a workflow of how Verify works and how those questions could be sent to the patient. So the organization that we engage with would determine the best method of contact to engage with the patient. So whether that's a patient portal, a direct messaging system, maybe an automated email system, whatever the best engagement you have with your patients, that method would be determined. And we would work with you to connect that integration and that contact method with our Verify feature. Once that is integrated, then the EMPI has a way to automatically identify which duplicates and which records are Verify eligible. Once that is determined, then the EMPI generates questions based on the data that is available in those records and prepares those questions to be sent to the individual. Those questions could be based on some of these blue pieces of data that are outlined in the records here, as you can see. Last name, street name, city, and last 4 digits of the phone number. Some of those pieces of data that, as you can tell, they are not identifiable for the patient. They're just pieces of data that the person would be able to confirm. That's not giving up too much information that would be identifiable, but allows us to gather info from the patient, have them confirm that, and really optimize the data that we're receiving. So some questions could be created such as, which of these streets have you lived on? Which of these phone numbers have you had? And these would be in a multi-select format where the person could select any and all that they have lived on or that they have had as far as phone numbers. So these questions are generated by the EMPI automatically, sent to the individual via whatever integration was created previously, maybe via the patient portal. The person would receive those questions, answer those, and then submit those responses. And then those responses can be taken into our EMPI, can be processed, and that data can be used to drive decisions within the EMPI and optimize the deduplication of patients across your organization. So with that, those are the main features that I really wanted to highlight today as far as our 11.3 release. We are so excited to deliver this and to continue to walk forward in these different areas and deliver additional enhancements and functionality in our next release 11.4. So with that, I just want to close with the idea that we're committed to continuing to improve on these resolution methods, improve and add new enhancements. We really want to optimize patient deduplication, and we want to ensure that our EMPI, as well as the rest of our products across our suite as they work together, are the best fit for your organization now and in the future.
That's excellent, Lynn. Thank you very much. Really, really exciting stuff. Across the board. We talked about this data gap with regard to health equity. I'm sure, and based on the customer conversations we've had, right, the ability to have this data in hand and connected to the patient in this way is going to be really powerful. Lots of great efficiency enhancements. We know that data resolution remains a burden. So really great stuff to help our customers sort of move forward in that area. So very good. For the final section of today's presentation, we wanted to segue a little bit to Rhapsody powered integration here. So integration serves as the backbone for an EMPI implementation. We know from experience, the integration component of an implementation for EMPI can be complex. Right? It's really critical to ensure that the systems that provide source data and the systems that rely on that accurate patient information are connected seamlessly. And here at Rhapsody, with our integration interoperability suite, that's really our bread and butter. And we work tirelessly to bring the components of this interoperability suite more tightly connected over time. So with that, I wanted to talk to Tom Myers here about what we're doing with regard to bringing that integration component even more tightly connected to the EMPI than ever before, and really drive success when it comes to a number of really sticky use cases related to identity data management. So Tom, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Jesse. I appreciate it. Yeah, from the get-go here, as the organization has leaned into the power that the EMPI and the identity solution provides, really at its core is this concept of how the integration happens. So within the enterprise and within your organizations, it's critical that those systems are contributing to the information flow and the data flow that constitutes who the individual is or who the person is that's reflected in that identity. So to that effort, we're providing, as a part of each of the EMPI solutions, a Rhapsody integration engine that comes standard with the deployment, along with our expertise as a team to really help drive and to help streamline that implementation process, to get you up and running faster, to get you running with more sources of data that are feeding into that identity solution, and to get you the best quality view for who your patients are and who the people are that are reflected within that identity. So we're looking at this as a way to reduce the project risk that's associated with it, driving that expertise that we have from a professional services and support standpoint to be able to deliver the best quality integration that's possible, to really de-risk the project as a whole so that you're getting the value from the identity solution that you're looking to, why you're acquiring it in the first place, why it's something that you'd like to bring in to help clean up and normalize your data so that that care can be delivered in a consistent way. It also allows you to really think about and lean into new use cases beyond what you may have been doing traditionally that allow you to pull data from a diverse group of sources and integrate those into the EMPI use cases to give a more holistic view of the patient. Patient now means a lot of things, and it's including a lot of other data sources. So Jesse, if you jump to the next slide. Traditionally, it's been from things like HL7 data from the EMR, results from the laboratory systems, those types of information. It's now moving into use cases where we can support integration with non-traditional things like imaging and DICOM. So as those exams are being read at a wider and wider diverse group of imaging facilities, whether that's clinics down the road, whether that's separate imaging private centers, whether that's a patient walking in with a CD, all of those are sources of information that give you a perspective on who the person is. So integrating those non-traditional sources in a seamless way and doing that as a plan for how the integration project itself is being delivered and deployed. That can also move into things like pathology exams that can be being processed, as well as new forms of data analysis from the laboratory setting around genomics. So as those sequences are being done and the information coming back, the identity of those individuals and who they're represented as within each of those external systems can now be delivered and integrated seamlessly into the EMPI project as a whole. This can also expand out into a lot of additional new use cases as well. So if you do the next slide there, or next tab, Jesse. It's really allowing you to do that in a flexible way. So as those systems exist, they have a variety of different forms of how they can be integrated, where the data is coming from. Traditionally, those would have been handled with what's called a bulk import. The new integration engine really allows you to do those in more of a lazy load or a modern integration standpoint, so that on-the-fly historical loading can happen while the data is in flight. So you get up and running faster, you have faster time to useful data, and you have data that increases in quality and scales over time. So we're really driving towards this solution as one that lets you tackle big problems. We're really leaning in and focusing on very large patient populations and solving this at scale. 80 million is currently one of our target goals and where we're delivering value today, and we look at expanding even beyond that into many, many more millions beyond that. So more news to come as that progresses, but it's something that we're really thinking about both from the platform itself, but also the delivery and the integration use cases as well, doing that more quickly so that you can impact your business case. And then the next one, please. And really leveraging that EMPI for a variety of different new use cases as well. So using it from the standpoint of your workflow to validate the data that's being ingested, validate the data that's coming in from an integration perspective. So as those external systems are communicating to you and providing part of that clinical context, leveraging that identity to actually confirm and to normalize and to clean up the data as it's being ingested into your data lakes and into your decision support and your model training environments as well. So lots of uses and opportunities to expand beyond just traditional identity. Additionally, moving outside of the clinical environments, moving into things like staffing and personnel, so that those patients who are part of your care delivery cycle are also, in many cases, your employees or part of your organization as a whole. So integrating to those systems beyond just what the traditional clinical workflows are, and taking that into perspective for what makes up the individual as a whole as well. And then moving into new cases around how do you leverage this identity for things like consent management? How do you leverage it for verification or confirmation of intent from an individual? So that patient is going to have more and more control over their own personal data and their own personal exposure of that data. So giving the ability to, with confidence, connect with that person and give them a say in what's happening with their clinical data as it moves forward into the future. So we're quite excited by a lot of these, and we see the Rhapsody integration engine being a part of the solution as really core for that story, and lets you really grow your organization and grow your delivery of care to meet the patient where they are and to meet the solutions and the problems that you're trying to tackle as you're delivering that care. So we're quite excited about this. It's new for us, and it's also not new at the same time, in that we've been doing integration for many, many years. So we're excited to put the two together and have a real value proposition that should really move the needle for you. So thank you for the time, and I will pass it back to Jesse.
All right, Tom, thank you very much. That's great stuff. I want to thank both you and Lynn for the great presentation, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in and letting us share these innovations with you. We've worked hard on them. We're excited about them. We think they're going to be really valuable. So, we're glad you spent the time. to learn a little bit more about them today. So I wanted to open up for questions. We do have some questions coming in. As the questions do come in, I wanted to point everyone who's listening in today to a couple assets, a couple pieces of content that we have available on our website, rhapsody.health. I know that these presentations attract a variety of folks, some that use this product, some that may be interested in learning more and maybe aren't even using any sort of identity data management or EMPI solution today. So some great sort of next steps for all of you out there. 7 questions product leaders should ask when evaluating EMPI solutions. This one's focused on our friends in the healthcare technology space. Some good questions to ask, things to be thinking about as you're evaluating an EMPI solution. And these questions, although they're tailored to healthcare technology, really applicable across the board. So we do recommend you checking that out. We were fortunate to have our customer Geisinger join Health Data Management and KLAS a few months ago and sort of talk about their experience. They use both Rhapsody Integration and EMPI, and that presentation is summarized in this article here. Opening a digital front door that removes friction between patients, providers, and payers with trusted, actionable data. So some really great insights shared there. And then the final one I'll point you to, the case for enterprise provider data management. We didn't touch on it today. The identity portfolio consists of both the EMPI and the provider registry, which helps create consistent, accurate data for providers across your ecosystem. So this white paper sort of explores the benefits of putting a system in place and technology in place to ensure accuracy of provider information. So a little bit beyond the scope of today's call, but definitely something I'd recommend you check out when you get a moment. So let's head to the questions. We've got one here going all the way back to equity, pillar number 1. So this question is pertaining to capturing race and ethnicity. So will the EMPI have the capacity, or is it planning to have the capacity to handle multiple races, ethnicities, or hierarchical race ethnicity values? The example given is Chinese and then Asian. So Lynn, I'm not sure if you have some context there you could provide.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So we do have the ability to store race and ethnicity data. We have the ability to store multiple fields of that, whatever is provided to us. And we have the ability to match on that data as well, which having these additional fields, not every EMPI can also use all of these fields within the matching process, and we do have the ability to do that, which is really unique. We today don't have hierarchy between those fields, not that we won't add it in the future, but we do have the ability to store multiple of these fields.
That's great. Excellent. We got one more here. Tom, based on your walkthrough of the use cases just a moment ago, question about additional sort of use cases, maybe more practical use cases that you might be seeing out in the field. You talk to customers in terms of needing to tackle integration between identity data and the rest of healthcare data across the enterprise. Are there any sort of trends or things you're seeing that are consistent across the customers that you speak with?
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of need right now in the market, and we're having a lot of conversations around the radiology space. That's kind of near and dear to my heart as well, but it's also very applicable of late. As that space has had consolidation, and as organizations are combining together into new groups and new organizations, you have an integration of data that's happening from a very wide variety of sources for those, whether that's external data from imports or whether that's combining of what used to be a single PACS or a set of single PACSes now into a larger conglomeration. Those historical records have a variety of identity that's embedded in them from the context that they came from originally. So the ability to reach in and do integration into those systems at rest in the way that they're actually storing the data locally is actually really critical to that, and being able to do things like a historical crawl and confirm the data that's in the PACS. To do reconnections into the identity for newer studies that may be provided in the newer context for the same patient. So things like priors become very critical for delivery of care, and being able to accurately understand and read that full historical jacket with the context of accurate priors becomes very important. So a lot of demand there, a lot of need, and only kind of more pull for that type of integration. as those systems are combined together. So yeah, lots more to come there, I'm sure, as those industries continue to consolidate and expand as well. So looking forward to being able to solve those newer problems.
Excellent. Maybe I'll take that same question, Lynn. I'm not sure if you have anything to add to that, any sort of trends or challenges that you're seeing as you speak to customers in the market, maybe above and beyond even what we discussed here today, that you think would be helpful for the audience?
Yeah, I think similar to what Tom just said, we have been hearing about different pieces of information across imaging, across laboratory, where there are those additional pieces of data that need to be connected to the patient. So we've certainly been thinking about that. We've also been hearing and thinking about clinical data. How can clinical data be taken in and used to drive identity management? So I think that's something that we've been hearing some about, and there are some new FHIR standards that are coming out around that. So we are continuing to look into that and how that could improve matching and improve deduplication of patients. Some other things that, of course, we've heard today that we are continuing to work towards is health equity data, social determinants of health, AI technology, machine learning. So those are some other things that are really hot topics in the industry that could provide value in the identity management space. And then, of course, data visualization as we continue to move towards not only this initial dashboard, but beyond into additional metrics and visualization that we can provide to our customers and to new customers in the future.
Excellent. That's really great, great insight, great context, and sounds like a lot of great topics for potential discussions in the future. So with that, I think we're going to call it. I want to thank those of you who joined us today, and thanks to those who submitted a question. If you're watching the recording, thank you for tuning in. If you're watching live, remember in the next day, you'll get an email with a link to the recording. So be on the lookout for that. Other than that, encourage you to be in touch, connect with us. We're always happy to talk integration, identity data management at any time. You can visit us at rhapsody.health for a lot of other great information to get you started or continue on your journey. And thanks again for joining. We'll talk soon.